What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Today we have had the fixtures released for the Championship 2020-21 season. This is the first stage of all Championship fans' excitement, knowing that the 2020-21 season is just around the corner now. And let me tell you, we've got some mouth-watering fixtures to go through. If you want to hear my reaction of what I thought of the newly promoted sides that were in the Championship last year, about their Premier League fixtures that were released yesterday, check out my last video. I released it quite a late time, I do apologise for that. But if you guys want to see more Championship content, please make sure you do give this video a like, it's tremendously appreciated. Please leave a comment. What do you think of your club's opening fixtures, and what do you think of your club's last fixtures? I'll be very interested to know. Do you think you're given a tough start or a pretty easy or decent start? I'll be very interested to know. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done. If you're new on the channel, welcome to Let's Let's. My name is Alex. I do football content, Championship content as well on the go. And if you can, please share the channel to your social media, to any Championship YouTuber, to any Championship fan. All of that really make my day, and that is how I grow as a channel. On 218 subscribers at the moment. It'll be so appreciative if you can get me to 1,000 subscribers as soon as you can, so I could do the collaboration with Mr. Championship himself, Ben HD. But without any further ado, I'm going to go through every team alphabetically and go through their first 6 fixtures, and I'll tell you whether they've got a pretty good start or if they've been given a really daunting start. So let's get into it. We start off with recently relegated Bournemouth. They've returned to the Championship for the first time in 5 years. I've got their first 6 fixtures in front of me now, and I think Bournemouth have given a pretty decent start. It's a bit of a mixed bag. There's a few tough games in there. Got a home game against Blackburn at first, which I think could be okay. Away at Middlesbrough, I think will be quite tough for them, given that it's under Neil Warnock now. Against Norwich at home, which I think will be a big test to see when the 3 recently relegated sides compared to the Championship season. I think Norwich are considered to be one of the favourites at the moment, so that could be a tough game for Bournemouth. Then they got Coventry away. Could be a tough place to go to, especially with Coventry, with the confidence they have going up. Then they've got Queen's Park Rangers at home, which I think they could be okay with. And then Cardiff away. Obviously lost out in the playoff semi-final, so they are a pretty top side, Cardiff. So I look at Queen's Park Rangers thinking they can get something from there. Blackburn, potentially they can get something from there. If they can make a great start against Blackburn, it will really lift up their confidence, especially with their home game against Norwich as well. We now go to Barnsley. I actually think they've done pretty alright with their opening 6 fixtures. They had a pretty tough opening round of fixtures last year, but I think they've been eased off a little bit. They start off with a game at home against Luton. Given that they were 2 teams fighting relegation last year, it'll be interesting to see how those 2 teams compare in the dawn of the new season. Then they've got an away game against Reading, which could be tough. Then they've got a home game against Coventry. I think they can be okay with that. You know, I think if they get 3 points there, I think it'll put them in a nice position. Away to Middlesbrough, I think will be tough for them. At home to Bristol City, you don't know what Bristol City are going to perform like under Dean Holden. It's a new era under Bristol City. And then away at Stoke, which I think Stoke will improve as well. For me, they've definitely got some better fixtures. If they can get some points very quickly, they need to make sure they continue that momentum. With Birmingham's games, I do have to say their away games are really tough. Their home games aren't that bad. They got a home game against Brentford, which actually is a repeat of what they played last year. They actually played against Brentford, but at Griffin Park last year, but this time it's going to be at St Andrews. Then they have Swansea away, which is quite daunting. At home to Rotherham, which I think they need to take full advantage of. Away to Stoke, which I think will be very tough. Home to Sheffield Wednesday. Could potentially be a tough game for them, but I think Birmingham under Ita Karanka can definitely perform. And then away at Norwich. I tell you what, their away games, as I say, are really daunting. But if they can get some points at home and propel themselves up the table, the Ita Karanka effect can definitely take its place. I look at these away games thinking that under Pep Clotet, they would have been really tough games for them to get more of the point from. But maybe Ita Karanka, you know, maybe the way they've set up, it'll be very interesting. You know, the last time Ita Karanka played against Norwich was that incredible 3-3 draw, which I still have flashbacks. It was an unbelievable game when Norwich scored 2 goals in the final 5 minutes of a game to equalise. I mean, that was an incredible game at the time. Now we go to Blackburn's first 6 games. Wow, much tougher than last year, I'll tell you this. They got a really daunting start. They start off with an away trip against Bournemouth, which is very daunting. Then at home to Wycombe, which I think they'll be alright with. Then away to Derby, which I think they will improve. But who knows if Wayne Rooney's going to be in the squad. Following the news, he's going to captain the England team at Soccer Aid. Derby fans, let me know of your reaction to that, by the way. So he will be out the Derby squad when he does that. Then they're at home at Cardiff, which will be tight. Then at home to Nottingham Forest, which I think they'll be very strong this season, Nottingham Forest so far. Then away to recently relegated Watford. That's 4 really tight games they've got to start off with. For me, Blackburn so far have the toughest opening round of fixtures so far in the Championship. Then we go to Brentford's opening fixtures. Obviously, a load of eyes are going to be on them since they did miss out on promotion via the playoff final. A pretty mixed bag actually. I actually don't think they've got a too bad opening run of games. I thought they were going to be a lot more tested. They got an away trip against Birmingham. They did lose against Birmingham when they played to get them in the opening day of the season last year, but they can't afford that. They had a really terrible start, Brentford actually, and if they want to get promoted, they need to start from game 1. And if they can get up the table very quickly and continue that momentum, I think Brentford can be a strong favourite going up. Then they have their home game against Huddersfield, their first game at their new stadium. Brentford fans or Championship fans, let me know what you think of Brentford's new stadium. Then they've got an away trip against Millwall, which I think will be tight for them. Brentford at home to Preston, I think will also be pretty close. At home to Coventry, I think they will be okay with. And away at Sheffield Wednesday. Now we go to Bristol City. Dean Holden's first full season with Bristol City. These are his first 6 games. And to be honest, home games I don't think are that bad, but the away games are very daunting. So they've got a home game against Coventry as their opening fixture. I actually say that's quite generous for Bristol City. Then they've got an away trip against Stoke, which I think will be tough. Then a home game against Sheffield Wednesday, which I think they can definitely get something if they perform well. Away to Nottingham Forest will be daunting. I'll be very surprised if Bristol City can get all 3 points from that. Then away to Barnsley, which will definitely be tough as well. But then a home game against Middlesbrough. Bristol City have got a mixed bag as well. I look at Coventry and Sheffield Wednesday, definitely thinking that they can get some points out of there. But their other 4 games, I have to say, are quite tough. Then we go to Cardiff. Likewise with Bristol City, I actually think they've got 2 pretty nice games, but 4 daunting games. So they start off with a home game against Sheffield Wednesday, which I think is quite nice for them. Then an away trip against Nottingham Forest, which will be very tough. Then at home to Reading, which I think they can get something from. Then away to Blackburn, which won't be easy. Then they don't have to go far for their next game. An away game against Preston, which I think will be even tougher. Then a home game against recently relegated Bournemouth, which I think will be tough as well. Obviously, Neil Harris's second season in the Championship with Millwall really struggled. He cannot afford that same sort of momentum with Cardiff. Otherwise, he will definitely be under pressure and could get sacked quite quickly. I think Cardiff can definitely get something with the squad that they have. We now go to Coventry. For me, they've got a mixed bag in terms of their opening 6 games. I can definitely see them picking up a couple of points in them. Away game against Bristol City may not be the worst case scenario to have in their opening day. Then they've got a home tie against Queen's Park Rangers, which I think they can definitely get 3 points. They'll be looking at this game in particular in the first 6 games, thinking that they need to get 3 points from. Then an away trip against Barnsley, which I think will be tight as well. But then their final 3 games are very tough. At home to Bournemouth, away to Brentford, and at home to Swansea. With their really strong home record, it'll be very interesting to see how sides perform against Coventry. It's not as bad of a start as I expected from Coventry, but maybe could have been a bit easier for them. With Derby's opening 6 games, they've got some pretty tough ones, although I think it's alright overall. They've got Reading at home, Luton away, Blackburn at home, Norwich away, Watford at home, and then Huddersfield away. So it's Norwich and Watford are going to be the 2 tough games for them. I think the other 4 are actually okay for Derby. I think they could definitely have a pretty strong start following the opening 6 games. As with Huddersfield, I think they've got a pretty daunting first 6 fixtures. I don't see any easy game here. Home to Norwich will be tough. Away to Brentford will be very tough. Home to Nottingham Forest will be tough. Away to Rotherham, where Rotherham have a strong home record, and it's a Yorkshire derby as well, will be tough. Away to Swansea will be tough. And at home to Derby can potentially be tough as well. Huddersfield definitely have a very daunting start to the season. Under Carlos Corberán, they definitely need to try and pick at least, I say, 2 to 3 wins in those first 6 games to have a good start. I don't know. Huddersfield's one of those teams I'm a little bit worried about, if I'm going to be honest, if they don't invest. With Luton's first 6 games, I don't know. It actually looks pretty okay actually. They do have an away game against Barnsley, which I think will be tight, but it's a huge opportunity to see where the teams fighting relegation last year compared to the new season. Then they have a home game against Derby. We don't know whether Luton could get something. I don't know how Luton will be at home personally. They have lost Izzy Brown. They've failed to keep him after following. He has gone back to Chelsea, but now recently he has signed for Sheffield Wednesday. He was by far, for me, their best player last year, along with Harry Cornick and James Collins. Then an away game against Watford, the M1 derby, I believe that's what it's called. They're only 18 miles apart, and the first time this derby is going to take place in over 15 years, so I'm really excited to see how that one will turn out. Then a home game against recently promoted Wycombe. They'll be looking at a game thinking that they definitely need to get something. At home to Stoke, pretty tough game for me. Away to Millwall, pretty tough as well. But Luton, compared to the other teams I've talked about so far, I think they've got a pretty good opening round of 6 games. We now go to Middlesbrough's opening round of 6 games. They have a daunting start, although it gets a bit better. They played 2 of the recently relegated teams in their first 2 games, so they're tested right off the bat. They've got an away game against Watford as their opening game, which is really daunting. Then they've got a home trip against recently relegated Bournemouth, which I think will be tough as well. But then things get a little bit better. They've got Queen's Park Rangers away, which of course Grant Hall's going to play against his former club, being there for 5 years, which would be interesting for him. A home game against Barnsley, which I think will be okay. Home game versus Reading, which I think will also be okay. Then an away game against Bristol City, which I'm 50-50 whether Middlesbrough can get something. If Middlesbrough under Neil Warnock can get a really good start and actually get a result against Watford and Bournemouth, I would say Middlesbrough can definitely push up for the top half of the table. Neil Warnock, you know, if his record speaks for itself, 8 promotions, he will definitely not want Middlesbrough to be in mid-table again. He'll want his side to push further up the table. This could come to bite me in the end, but I actually would say Middlesbrough are going to be a serious team this year. Millwall's opening round of 6 games is not bad. They've got a home game versus Stoke, of course Gary Rowett already playing against his former club. Rotherham away, which I think can be daunting. At home to Brentford, which will be tough. Away to Swansea, which I think will be tough. But then away to Wycombe. Then at home to Luton, which I think both those games will be okay. So a mixed bag overall. If they could start well this season, especially for how strong they finished last year, I think Millwall could definitely be up there. Now to the second recently relegated team, Norwich. And looking at their first 6 games, they're okay actually. They've got a couple of potential tough games. I'm looking especially at Bournemouth and Norwich. Recently relegated teams, they're already playing against each other. They start off with an away trip against Huddersfield, which I actually think will be okay. Then a home game against Preston, which yes, might be tough, but they did play against each other last year in the FA Cup, and Norwich dispatched Preston very comfortably. Then that away trip against Bournemouth, which would definitely be their toughest game in their opening round of 6 games. Then a home game against Derby, could be tough. I don't know how Derby will set up away from home. Then away to Rotherham could potentially be tough. It's a really tough place to go to, Rotherham. And then a home game against Birmingham, which I think they can get something from. So if you're interested to know which team I feel has the easiest first 6 games, it's Nottingham Forest. Look at this. They got a away trip against Queen's Park Rangers, which I think they'll be okay with. Home to Cardiff, yeah, might be tough for them. But then an away trip against Huddersfield, home against Bristol City, away to Blackburn, and home to Rotherham. I can definitely see 6 winnable games there. Also with the signings they have, I think they're going to be strong favourites as well. If they can have a very strong start here, I think Nottingham Forest could be one for favourites. You know, it'd be crazy for me to say that. You know, we've recently seen Leeds break a record of being to the Premier League for the first time in 16 years. Who knows if Nottingham Forest can break that record as well. You know, they've not been in the Premier League for such a long time since Brian Clough did all he can to try and keep them up. But unfortunately, they were relegated in the early 2000s. Then to Preston's first 6 games. They had an alright first 6 games to start things off. This year though, I definitely think it's tougher. Playing 2 of the top 6 as well in their first 6 games as well. They start off with a home game versus Swansea, away to Norwich, which will be very tough for Preston following how poor they were against Norwich in their FA Cup round last year. At home to Stoke, yes, they beat Stoke comprehensively last year, but I think Stoke will be much improved under Michael O'Neill with his first full season at the club. Away to Brentford, they really struggled to beat Brentford last time. You know, they played against them recently in the restart. Then at home to Cardiff, where they really struggled as well. Another game they played very recently during the restart as well, but Cardiff beat them very comprehensively comprehensively, and an away trip to Queen's Park Rangers. Now, the last time Preston had a really difficult start, under 11 games, they were bottom of the table, If Preston want to progress and to get into the top 6 at least, they need a strong start like they had last year, but to keep up the consistency and to keep their home record. Their home record was a very big contribution while they finished as high as 9th last year. If I would correct myself, they play against 3 of the top 6 because Cardiff's now in there as well. So Preston definitely have a much tougher opening 6 games than they definitely had last year. Now go to Queen's Park Rangers. Pretty tough start actually. They've got a home game against Nottingham Forest, which will be tough. Away to Coventry, where Coventry have only lost 1 home game last season, so it won't be easy to get all 3 points there. Then at home to Middlesbrough, where Middlesbrough I think will be improved defensively under Neil Warnock. Then away to Sheffield Wednesday. Who knows where Sheffield Wednesday's positions or morales would be following that they've got a minus 12 point deduction at the start of the season. Then away to Bournemouth, which will be really tough. And then home to Preston, which can potentially be tough as well following their poor record against Preston. Now we go to Reading's first 6 games, a mixed bag once again. Away to Derby, which will be tough. At home to Barnsley, they can definitely get something, but whether Barnsley will make it easy, we'll see. Away to Cardiff will be tough. Against Watford at home, could potentially be tough. I could definitely see some 3 points being won in some of these games, but not all of them. They definitely have got a pretty testing start. Then we go to the second recently promoted side, Rotherham, and there's definitely some eye-catching games. Look at their first game, Wycombe away, also recently promoted. We'll see a direct comparison which of the promoted sides is going to be more prepared for the championship season. Then at home to Millwall, which could be tough, although they do have a pretty strong home record of them, so they may be okay with that. Then away to Birmingham, which I think is alright, it's not the worst away trip to go to. Then at home to Huddersfield Town. Then at home to Norwich, which will be tough, and then away to Nottingham Forest, which I think will be their toughest game. I actually think they definitely have a better first 6 games than Coventry do. I think just with the exception of their final 2 games against Norwich and Nottingham Forest, I think those 4 games, Huddersfield, Birmingham, Millwall, Wycombe, those could be 4 wins for Rotherham already at the start of the season. If they can get 4 wins under their vans, they'll already have 12 points. And, especially with the quality of the bottom 3 last time, I think you need to amass at least 40 points to try and ensure that survival. Maybe even 45 if the quality of the bottom 3 improves. They're pretty nice opening round of games apart from their final 2 games in their opening 6 games. Now, between all championship sides, which team I was most intrigued of their opening 6 games was Sheffield Wednesday. Do keep in mind they'll be on minus 12 points at the start of the season, so they need to have 4 wins just to be on 0 points alone. Now look at their first 6 games. They've got Cardiff away, Watford at home, Bristol City away, Queen's Park Rangers at home, Birmingham away, Brentford at home. 3 alright games for me, but 3 really tough games. The 3 tough games are going to be Cardiff, Watford and Brentford. Those 3 games are really tough for Sheffield Wednesday. I'm looking at Bristol City, Queen's Park Rangers and Birmingham, thinking they could definitely get something. They're pretty much on par for me, those 3 sides compared to Sheffield Wednesday. So Sheffield Wednesday definitely needs to look at those 3 games in particular and try and get a maximum of 3 wins. I think the scenario that Sheffield Wednesday can see them surviving is that they need to quickly turn around their 12-point deduction. The longer it goes on, morales will drop and then they'll run out of games, and that is how they'll get relegated. But if they can get rid of their deduction as quick as that, I think Sheffield Wednesday could potentially recover, but minus 12 points deduction is not easy to overturn. You've seen how Wigan struggled with it. So with Sheffield Wednesday, they're definitely going to be put on the back foot. Then we go to Stoke's opening 6 games, the side which I think they will be up there in the championship table, and it's reflected by their opening 6 fixtures. Preston and Millwall are the only 2 sides in the top half that they're actually playing games against. They're both away games, which I think will be their 2 toughest games, but they're playing none of the top 6 in their first 6 games, which I think is a real bonus for Stoke. They also got a home game against Bristol City, which I think could potentially be tough, but I think Stoke should be the favourites for this game. A home game against Birmingham under Ita Karanka will be interesting, but I think Stoke are pretty strong at home under Michael O'Neill, so they can potentially be the upper hand of this one. And an away trip against Luton Town, which I think they can definitely get something there as well. So Stoke definitely have the fixtures to have a strong start to the season. In their last 2 seasons in the Championship, they've had really slow starts. If they can just flip that on its head and have a good start to this season, then I think Stoke can definitely definitely have a potential return to the Premier League. They've got a good enough manager for it, and most definitely a good enough squad for it. And you know, now they've been given a nice run of games at the start of the season, maybe this could be Stoke's year to try and get back to where they should be. And likewise with Swansea, they've got a pretty nice run in, although they do have a tough opening game against Preston, but apart from that, it eases up a little bit. A home game against Birmingham, which I think will be okay. Away to Wycombe, which I think we'll be fine with. Home to Millwall. Home to Huddersfield. And away to Coventry. They played 2 of the recently promoted sides in their first 6 games, which is intriguing for me. If Swansea can have such a good start like they did last year, what Steve Cooper needs to do is improve that consistency. We've got 2 teams left and 2 newcomers of the Championship. We start with a recently relegated Watford. Their first return to the Championship in 5 years, just like Bournemouth, since both of them were actually promoted together, and now they're both relegated together. You know, they're completely inseparable, those 2 clubs. They start with a home game against Middlesbrough, away to Sheffield Wednesday, home to Luton, away to Reading, away to Derby, and home to Blackburn. To be honest, I do not think that's a bad 6 games. Yes, Middlesbrough I think will be tough with Neil Warnock in charge. Sheffield Wednesday I think they can get something. Luton they should get something. It'll be interesting. It's a derby between them as well. Only 18 miles separate the 2 sides. I have to say I think they do have the slightly nicest round of games compared to the recently relegated clubs. Norwich have a couple of tough games. Bournemouth have a couple of tough games as well. Watford, I could definitely see them winning majority of those games. Middlesbrough probably been pretty tough for them, and Derby probably being their toughest. But looking at that, pretty good for Watford. And finally, we go to Wycombe, the final recently promoted club. It's been a miracle of how Wycombe have gone up in the first place. And look at their first 6 fixtures. I do have to say, in contention to be one of the nicest opening round of fixtures with Nottingham Forest. Definitely the nicest round of fixtures compared to the recently promoted sides. They start off playing against Rotherham, another recently promoted side. If they can win that game, it would really put Wycombe on cloud 9 in a great position. Away to Blackburn I think can be tight following Blackburn's good record at Ewood Park. But then at home to Swansea, could potentially be tough. Then away to Luton, I think they can definitely fight for something there. Home to Millwall, I don't know about that one. Wycombe can definitely make Adams Park a difficult place for teams to go to, but we don't know about Millwall. Millwall could potentially be too good for that. And then Reading away. Wycombe only have to play 2 top half teams in their first 6 games, which I think is pretty nice for them, which of course are Millwall and Swansea. And I'm looking at the Rotherham game thinking they can get something. Blackburn 50-50, they could even scrape a draw on that. Swansea I think will be tough, but following they are at home at Adams Park, you never know. Then away to Luton, definitely I think they can fight for something there. Oh, home to Millwall, just likewise Swansea, you never know. Maybe at Adams Park they could get something. And then away to Reading. Yeah, I definitely think Wycombe have the nicest round of games compared to the recently promoted clubs. So to recap, the team which I think have the nicest fixtures, I still think is Nottingham Forest. And the team with the hardest round of fixtures, I still think it's Huddersfield Town. But let me know what you guys think. Which team do you think has the easiest run of fixtures? Which team do you think has the hardest run of fixtures? And if you support a Championship club, what do you think of your fixtures overall? What do you think of your final 5 fixtures? What do you think of your mid-season fixtures? What do you think of the Boxing Day fixtures and New Year's Day fixtures, etc.? Let me know in the comments down below. It's a very exciting time for Championship clubs. The first bit of news before the Championship 2020-21 season starts. I'm officially started to potentially start the new season very, very soon. We've only got a couple of weeks till it's September the 12th, so I'm really, really hyped. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel, and let's get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can. All of that would really make my day. Please comment what you think of the recent Championship fixtures in the comments down below, as I said, and please share the channel to social media, Championship YouTubers, Championship fans. All of that would really make my day. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video, and as always, take care.